Hey guys.
Welcome back
to our YouTube channel,
Fulfill the Game of Life.
Now look, we are so excited. You can see it on our face. We have arrived at our second Airbnb and we just can't stop smiling, right?
We can't stop smiling. We can't get enough of this small village that we're in. It really feels like you're on the set. And I'll give you a little bit of a spoiler alert. It feels like you're on the set of Game of Thrones. It is so funny just to walk down these small little roads. It's just amazing.
It's amazing. Now we're not going to give you the detail for a couple more videos, but what we're going to give you today is the video we've been promising for about 3 weeks now, which is how we went about buying a car and the car that we bought. So we're ready to get you that. We apologize it's taken so long to get new content, but you know, the first transition between Airbnbs was a learning experience for us as well. But we forgot to even take off walking. So
right.
And let's just kind of walk up the hill a little bit.
And for those of you, sorry to interrupt, those of you that are returning, thank you so much. Don't forget to hit that like button. And if you're new to our channel, thank you for joining us. Hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss the new content and our exciting adventures through Portugal.
So on to locking ourselves back into our Airbnb and getting in front of these massive thick walls and start putting together the video. So we hope you enjoyed the little quick background walk, and we cannot wait to show you all the things that we are seeing here. It's remarkable. Okay. I know you want to hear that engine sound one more time before we log off. So stop for a minute and just tell me, what is the first thing that comes to mind when you hear that engine sound?
Teenager. Stop it.
Okay, all right, what's the second thing you think about when you hear that engine sound?
Oh, immature? Stop it.
Okay, what's the third thing you think about when you hear that engine sound?
Is he ever going to grow up or grow out of being giddy listening to brum, 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 brum?
No. Carry on. Hey guys, welcome back. And Christy, she ran along to start on the next video. So since I did all the car shopping, I figured I'd be the best one to kind of walk you through this. So car buying in Portugal. If you're considering a lifestyle that's similar to ours or any lifestyle that requires a car, you really need to know this information. I kind of wish I had educated myself more before I got here, though I wasn't completely naive. I did quite a bit of research before I left the United States. I was even shopping for cars and maybe talking to a couple of dealers even before I left the United States. But we didn't purchase. We got over here and then we got really serious because we knew we had a time frame and a city and those things, so our plans had to come together. And so this is the story, and there are some significant learnings here that I believe everyone should be aware of. So let's get started. Number one, as we've pointed out a couple of times, gas is expensive. Well, what you're going to find out actually is everything associated with an automobile in Portugal is expensive. It really seems that the government purposely wants to limit people's ability to get automobiles and to use mass transit. I think it's maybe part of the green initiative that we keep pointing out in different videos. Because getting a car here, maintaining a car here, putting fuel in a car here are all way more expensive than practically all of Europe. And we're going to walk you through our real life so you understand what that means. So let's get started with a quick mention on not only is the gas expensive, now that we're traveling the countryside, we took a photo here. I want to share it, that 1 quart of synthetic oil is almost 16 euro here. And to put that in perspective, at Walmart in the United States, you can get you get a 5 quart jug of synthetic motor oil for about 25, 26, $27, you're talking maybe 21 euros. So 5 quarts of synthetic, 21, 22 euro in the United States, compared to 16 euro here for 1 quart. So just putting oil in a car here is quite expensive. But anyway, on to the video and jumping into how we went about this. So the first thing for us obviously is, well, what kind of car are you going to buy? You're not surprised, I'm sure, with prior videos. We had already narrowed it down to the brand that we wanted, which was BMW. Then we started ranging our research from the small 1 series up to the 4 series, anything bigger. Maybe we looked a little bit at a 5 series. But we just decided, you know, the really big cars would just be not conducive to the lifestyle that we're trying to lead. But we did have quite a few criteria. I want to walk you through kind of the things that went through our thought processes. Number 1, gas and fuel mileage is important. With the cost that we've covered before, I'm sure it'd be important to almost anyone purchasing a car over here. Number 2, as traditional as buying a car, the mileage on the car. Obviously, you don't want something, and maybe I should use kilometers instead of saying mileage, but you don't want something with a significant amount of miles already on it. Number 3, we, in general, we never really look at new cars. We look at used cars. There's just too much depreciation between purchasing a new car and eventually selling it. So we're only in the used car market. The practical side then kind of came over to us is we knew that we had to move once a month. You know, there's this little, I kept trying to convince myself we could fit all this luggage into like a M2, and you know, we just came to the conclusion we have to have something that would fit the luggage. And in the research over in the United States, we were looking at station wagons, and you might have had the same mental picture as my wife had with the station wagon, with the Griswolds and the big car, and the 1970s vacation with the station wagon. But the Europeans figured out station wagons years ago. They make beautiful station wagons, and they call them touring cars, I believe, here, tours. So we really started looking at, we knew we were going to need the capacity to move the luggage. The next consideration for us was a legitimate back seat. We will eventually have family here, and we will eventually have friends here, and it had to have a back seat big enough to hold an adult. A lot of my older BMWs, simply the back seat, the 2+2 kind of configuration, you almost have to be a child to fit in the back. So the back seat space was a legitimate consideration for us. But looking around Lisbon, we also came to the conclusion that we wanted a smaller car because we wanted to fit into the small parking spaces. Everything is so tight already. Getting a car that would fit into the parking spaces was important to us. Number 7, just because of my past and my likes, I just can't move completely into a low-powered automobile. I understand I'm trading off gas mileage for power, and it's a trade-off that I'm willing to take. But I also wanted agility. I've talked to you guys already about the curvy roads here. I don't want something that's a wishy-washy kind of old Cadillac type of car. And I don't know if I even see any of those over here. But as well, we don't really want a harsh ride as well. We want something that balances the nimbleness for the curvy roads, but we don't want something that's just jarring everywhere we go. So the next thing is, there's a few luxury things, but really only one of them is important to both of us. It's not a true deal breaker, but we really like seat heaters. We know it gets a little bit chilly here, and for a lot of the year, and we want to get in the car and turn the seat heaters on. And so we put that in our priority list as we were looking for cars. And good audio. It didn't have to be a top-end crazy audio, but the lowest-end audio with really no bass is a kind of a real turn-off. So we kind of marked these things down. We started shopping online. And by the way, shopping online is simply the same as the United States. There are plenty of websites. You pull up the cars, you put the mileage you want, you put the cost that you want, and you get to narrow those cars down. So I started spending hours upon hours, literally a couple of days days just disappear when you're shopping for cars and you're contacting dealers and all those things. And then of course there's this kind of shocking thing as well. Don't forget the exchange rate. Any any car that we pulled up that had, you know, their price in euros, we had to add about 20% to that to always be mentally adjusted to about what you're going to really end up paying for these automobiles. So all of the time going through the criteria and narrowing down the cars and looking at the prices, the one thing you're going to say to yourself, and I said to myself multiple times, oh smack, this car costs this much in Portugal. I was surprised, and I was so surprised that it's like, I'm not sure if this is accurate, let me understand this. And then of course you go through that and you're like, oh crap, they really cost this much here. So then it leads you to, let me see what my options are to just go across the border into Spain or Germany or France or Italy, and let me see what kind of options I have to buy the cars and bring them into Portugal. Well, I'll give you this. The car that we had narrowed down to in Portugal had an average cost of a car that's about 6 years old, had an average cost of 30,000 euro. 30,000 euro. Now 30,000 euro adding 20% on top of that is a $37,000 car in the United States. Well, you pull up the websites in Spain, just across the border, and the same car for the same years for similar mileage was 20,000 euro. 20,000 euro in Spain, 30,000 euro in Portugal. So of course you're like, well, I'll just buy this thing in Spain and I'll bring it across the border and I'll pay for the taxes as it's coming in. So I said, let me go figure out how much the taxes cost. So of course you spend a few hours researching the processes in the internet, on the internet, and come across this website to estimate the taxes, that import taxes that you'd have to put to bring the car into Portugal. And there are three factors and three factors only. Engine displacement, so the size of the engine. Just to familiarize people in America who still sometimes talk cubic inches, but if it's a 5.7 liter engine, that's 5,700 cubic centimeters. And so you convert the liters back down to cubic centimeters and you plug it into the simulation here, and then you put in CO2 emissions. So again, the country's taxing on engine size, and then they're really concerned with carbon emissions. And as you ramp up carbon emissions, you have to pay more taxes as the car comes in. And of course the age of the car, as the age moves down, the cost of the taxes move down with it. So you got three factors, so then you go research the car you're looking at. And when I typed all of that in, the car we're looking at is about a 3-liter engine. It had about 220, I believe it's grams per kilometer of carbon emissions. I'll correct that on the video if that's not right. And the car was 6 years old. We thought it was 6 years old at the time. Plug all that stuff in, and the import taxes were 13,000 euros. Again, 13,000 euros. I was like, holy smokes, I must have done something wrong. Hey, I probably typed that in wrong. Let me go research this. I needed a second opinion because I was shocked at how high the taxes were coming in. So I started asking around. We walked into a dealership downtown Lisbon, started asking a Nissan dealer, you know, how do you deal with the import taxes? How do you calculate it and those things? And he suggested, well, what you really should do is the Car Club of Portugal. You go to the Car Club of Portugal, you can sign up, you can become a member, but just to kind of, again, adjust between the United States, it's not like the Car Club of Porsche or Car Club of BMW and those things. It's not like one brand. It's like a national car club. And they basically are kind of the experts. They have paid services for importing cars. They have paid services for anything that you need to figure out with a car. Or walk in and we meet a couple of fantastic gentlemen and just kind of walk them through the same questions I'm asking, and then basically get down to this is the car we're looking at, this is the displacement, this is the year, and this is the carbon emissions. About how much will I expect to pay on taxes? And lo and behold, he looked at me and said, about 13,000 euros. So the simulator online that you see will give you an accurate estimate. Just go take the car that you do have, look it up online, and pull these 2 or 3 parameters off, plug it in, and you'll have the taxes of bringing stuff in from other countries. Now, I do want to take just one moment because I had a fantastic a comment from a viewer, Paulo de Souza, who pretty much knew what I was going through and wanted to give me a little bit of color on how this works. And he put a post up I wanted to read to you guys because it was really engaging. The issue, as he wrote, is the additional tax levied on both new and used vehicles, with some exceptions in the latter case, on top of a 23% VAT, I think is a value-added tax. The European Commission has raised an issue with the country of Portugal, the state of Portugal, but they refuse to remove the taxation, which means we're paying a yearly fine for the transgression of EU rules. So the EU is telling Portugal they can't do this. They charge them a yearly fine because these taxes still remain in place. And as he says, the fine is still, to the country of Portugal, is still lower than the taxes that they receive from the car taxes. So they consider it basically a business transaction. They pay out to the EU, so they maintain the high taxes on the automobiles here. So there are, as he mentions as well, there are some tax credits for electric cars and hybrid cars, and that they're supposed to incentivize the transition to so-called cleaner energies and engines, but given the outrageous price of electric mixed cars to begin with, it's just not worth considering, in his opinion. So anyway, it was a great post for that, and I want to thank you guys. You viewers constantly give us good posts, but that was super informative when you're trying to actually purchase a car here. So finally, with all the talking done and all the research done, let me introduce our new used car. It's a BMW, it's a 2013 BMW M135i, and we are terribly excited. We've now, of course, driven a few hundred kilometers to our second Airbnb, and we absolutely love this car. This car is, it barely fit all our luggage, and you'll see that in the next video. But it is, it's got good gas mileage, and it's not great gas mileage. And when you decide you need to go fast, it'll absolutely get up and move. Some more excitement about the car into the future that made it really appealing is all of these new cars with turbocharged engines are really easy to modify up to get a fairly substantial bump in horsepower with minimal cost. And we'll be looking at that sometime in the future. It's got about 320 horsepower, but you can approach 400 horsepower for less than $1,000 of modification, which is basically all electronic, which just adds more boost to the car. But anyway, I'm not going to keep babbling on it. I'm terribly excited about it. We love the car. But of course, there are a couple of drawbacks, but the main one is the owner had put an aftermarket exhaust on it. Now, the exhaust still, it's really, really cool. The new cars, the new sporty cars, you can change the exhaust tone. It's got flaps in it when you change from economy mode to comfort mode to sport mode. And when you do that, the exhaust note changes. And when this thing is opened up to sport mode, it is, I'm like a child. It is a beautiful sound, and as you can hear in the video here, the first time I heard it, it's like I'm maybe too old for this. I don't need a car that sounds like this. And then after you hear, you won't be able to hear it as well as you hear it with your ears, with the audio. But as soon as you heard that thing, it's like, yeah, I changed my mind.
Oh, that's beautiful. I feel like a child. Don't do it. I don't need a car that sounds like, I do need a car that sounds like that. That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. All right, I'm good. I'm good. I'm sold.
So I can turn it off, I can turn it on, and I've been of course playing with that for the drive over here, and yeah, I am like a child. It's just too darn fun, and no matter how old I get, I can't just lose the car guy. I don't want to offend people, and I don't want to be noisy, and those are real sincere feelings, but you know what? I'm still a car guy and I love it, and I'm not apologizing for it. I love it, and I'll try my best to be respectful to people, but it's super, super exciting. So anyway, a couple of last pieces. We bought the car and we didn't want to bring it directly over to Lisbon for one significant reason. Car parking in Lisbon is a 10-minute video in itself. So we finally just said, you know what, we're going to leave it at the car dealership. After that, we had the car delivered by these two fantastic people you see in the video here.
It's a monster car.
It's a monster car. It
Monster
runs,
car.
doesn't it?
It's
Oh,
so
man.
good drive this car.
Is it?
It's so good.
So the trip was fine?
Yeah, it was fine. He has a little bit of dead mosquitoes in the car.
I saw it. Right? What do you do, right?
The two fantastic people that you see in this video, this is Claudio and Sandrina. They both work at this car company that I can't pronounce, so I'm just going to put it on the screen, over in Fatima. I want to say, first of all, hello again. It's great to see you guys. I hope you see the video here, and thank you for all of the help and the tolerance for all the banking transaction delays and all the things that I had to go through to get the money and hold the car. So thank you guys for that. Thank the owner as well. And of course, Sandrina, you answered so many other questions other than car questions. So Christy and I both just want to say a sincere thank you for kind of being the national translator for us. And we're sorry to bother you that much, but you were awesome. So thank you for that. And really the last segment of this video, there is a realization here that there may be a different way to think about this now that I've gone through this to learn it. There is an expat exclusion, we understand. If you can prove that you owned it for 6 months before coming to Portugal, you can bring your car to Portugal without incurring the taxes. Now that's a substantial, in this example, is a 13,000 euro example, right? So it's something to truly consider. Now a couple of things to add to that. From what we saw, if you're going to bring it from the East Coast in the United States and transport it over the ocean, you're going to pay somewhere between $2,500 and $4,500 to bring the car here, to ship it here. The second piece to that, though, is, of course, there could be a way to make profit, but you could only do it one time, right? You bring a car over here, say it's this exact same car. You could buy this car in the United States. I'm making numbers up a little bit for $20,000. You could put it on a ship and bring it over here and pay $4,000 to ship it here. You don't pay any taxes, and the moment it hits the shores here, all of a sudden that $20,000 car is worth $34,000, $35,000 over here. So you could bring your car over, you could sell it, and you could reap the benefits. But of course, if you're going to go buy another car, you don't reap the benefits anymore because you have to pay the taxes on the second transaction. So anyway, just creative thinking. If you were to come here and you knew you didn't want a car and you were going to live downtown Lisbon or downtown Porto or in a large city and use public transit, you could take the car you own, bring it over here, and likely turn a profit that actually might fund a couple of 3 months worth of living expenses. So just thinking outside the box. We will log off and leave you with, I hope this helps you understand your options when you think about driving a car over here. All of that said, if you liked the video and the content was helpful, please give us a thumbs up, and it really does actually help us. And remember to subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and continue to live our journey, because I'm telling you, we're gonna get you tons more information, and we are so excited. We can't stop smiling. We can't stop smiling.
We can't stop smiling.
This place
We're
is
so
awesome.
excited.
We can't stop walking around. We can't stop looking at these things. And we mapped our first road trip on all the things that are around here, and we are shocked. It is freaking beautiful. So tune in on our next video, and thank you for staying throughout this video, and we will talk to you soon.
Ciao.
Ciao.